would be that I would have to be in the apartment speaking to people through social media, but we have to adjust. Speaking of adjusting, you have adjusted so well, because immediately when this happened, you started using your platform, and you didn't sit back just because you were not able to go outside. You did something about it with your No Work, No Rice campaign. Would you want to tell us about that? I'm so excited for it.
So, yeah, at the beginning of this pandemic, when everything started happening and lockdown started to be implemented, I found myself in a mindset that I feel a lot of people find themselves in, which was one of, I felt a little bit hopeless, because I felt incredibly privileged to be able to stock up a little bit of food and to stay home and to do work from home, knowing that so many Filipinos and so many other people from other nations around the world don't have that luxury of having enough money to stock up food, or to have a comfortable space to stay at home, or whose work cannot be done from home, such as laborers or people who do public work, who aren't frontliners also. And of course the frontliners who are taking on this huge, amazing responsibility for the rest of us to provide us with basic needs. And so I was sitting at home and I was just feeling like I need to do something, and I feel so many of us feel that way. And so I went back to one of my core causes, and it's working with an organization called Young Focus. It's actually stationed in Tondo, Manila, and I am in Manila at the moment, but it's around the outskirts of Manila. And we started a No Work, No Rice campaign, because for many individuals who live day by day, which means like when the work ends, so do their income, and they can no longer feed their family and put food on the tables. So with Young Focus, we are fundraising, and it's an ongoing fundraiser. If anyone watching would like to participate and take part, we're fundraising for bags of rice, and these are 15-kilogram bags of rice to sustain a family for a whole of 10 days. And it's anywhere from $11 US or 550 pesos for one bag of rice. And every 10 days, that is replenished. So we're sustaining the families in the area. And if you would like more information, anyone watching, you can go to youngfocus.org/rice. So far, it's really amazing. We've been able to reach 6,000 families, which is about 8,000 to 10,000 individuals through donating 60,000 kilograms of rice. And that just allowed me to feel that, you know, I could sleep a little bit better at night, knowing that I was utilizing my platform to be able to provide for people, because it just felt like I felt a little bit hopeless. And I know that when we were chatting, you've also found an incentive or a charity that you're looking to partner with in South Africa.
Yes, that is so cool. So here's, like you said, it's so easy for us to be distanced from things when we don't see them happening in front of us. Because when you go on Twitter and you go on Facebook and you see people speaking about lockdown, for most people it's about, I'm going to be so bored at home, I'm going to watch as much Netflix as I can. I'm going to be on my phone as much as I can, but that's not a reality for a lot of people. For a lot of people, it means income is not coming in. It means I'm not able to feed my family because of this lockdown. And so South Africa has gone through a lockdown as well. And I come from a village called Tsolo, very beautiful small village in South Africa. And I saw on Twitter that they'd started a movement. The working class of South Africa. So most people of Tsolo don't work. Most of them depend on social grants. But we were lucky enough to be raised by families who fought for us to be able to get education and to be where we are. And so the children of the village came together and said, listen, we work. We are able to put something on the table. So how about we come together and try to help out those who can't. We have a saying in South Africa called Ubuntu. Ubuntu is humility, and we say Umntu ngumuntu ngabantu, which means we are because of people. And because it takes a village to raise a child, they came together and said, let's give back to the village that raised us. And so that's wonderful. So fantastic. And it touched my heart because I'm from there. I grew up there and I was like, there's no way I'm not getting involved in this. I really need to help because these people are responsible. They played a responsibility and a part in who I am today. So that's what I found, and it's just made my heart feel so much better as well. You said, to know that I'm doing something. There's also an initiative called Feed South Africa. Feed South Africa works more towards informal settlements in South Africa, what we call shacks. I'm not sure what other people call them, but it's more like informal settlements where there's a lot of underprivileged people, and that's where Feed South Africa goes into. So that's the second initiative that I found as well. And so I really want to split my help between the two, you know, help the informal settlements and help the village as well. So yeah, that's what I'm looking into right now, and it's so exciting for me to be able to do it. And as much as I'm not there, to say, you know, I'm still with you. And I've also been looking at other countries as well who are doing incredible things around Africa and, you know, America as well. You see places like Nigeria coming up and doing things. Their government is like, look, what we're going to do is we're going to put on a social grant and we're going to help people who are underprivileged and send them money. And I think that's fantastic. Rwanda is the same. I was actually speaking to one of my sister queens, Miss Brazil, and she was just telling me how it is in Brazil, and saying that there's a lot of organizations also coming forward, helping people. Because one other thing about Latin America is that the divide between the poor and the advantaged is so huge. It's massive. And so I was chatting to her, and she was like, that is still happening, but, you know, privileged people are trying as much as they can to help the underprivileged, and it absolutely touched my heart. She mentioned an organization and a campaign called the Viva Rio campaign. I'm sure it's on her page as well, and I was like, that's, you know, absolutely fantastic. And I love that people are coming together and doing all of this.
Oh, definitely. I feel like this situation has given every individual the opportunity to rise to the occasion and finding a spirit of generosity, and also finding ways to give back to the community. I've been using my platforms also just to ask for stories of like positive tidbits, because I don't know about you, but like sometimes I just tend to feel kind of overwhelmed. Like I want to keep up to date with what's happening in the world, but at times I kind of just have to put on the brakes, because I just start to feel overwhelmed. I start to feel anxious, because sometimes it just feels like there's more bad news than good. And I feel like more than ever, we need to share the good news. And yeah, I submitted just like a small post on both of my platforms, and then I had stories coming in about families who had family members who were frontliners, who knew that the sacrifice of going to work meant it couldn't come home to their families, but they went anyway, not being able to come into contact with their kids. Other stories of delivery people using their extra tips to buy for those that they see on the street. So these really small acts of kindness and generosity that I feel like is really pushing us to look at and see, you know, what can we give? Like in what position that we have, and maybe we only have a little. Maybe it's seemingly we have nothing, but I feel like so many people are rising to the occasion, and it's just a wonderful thing to see. And I feel like more than ever, we should share those stories.
Absolutely. Yeah, because, you know, you're right, because not all of us are able to raise funds. Not all of us are privileged enough to have money to give. And so you don't always have to have money to give. And that's an important point. It could be through your stories. It could be sharing the things that you have. But we don't want people to sit at home and say, I don't have money. I can't help. You know, yes, you can. You can help by, you know, being there for people, listening to their stories, sharing whatever it is that you have, but just making sure that you are respecting the rules of your country. You know, if they're telling you to stay home and find a way to help. But if you're one of those countries that do allow people to make deliveries, you don't have to have money. You can share half your rice, leave it on someone's doorstep, you know, keep the distance that you're supposed to keep. If you have old baby clothes that you have, that your baby can no longer wear, those are important essentials that people aren't able to go out and get right now. You can try helping out with those. You know, we can be this one community that we can be. It doesn't have to be about money. It doesn't always have to
and
be
there's even value in allowing people not to feel alone in the season. Like there's been teachers who are imploring their kids to make handmade cards that they email to patients that are recovering or are in the hospital, you know, simple things like that. And I think that's really wonderful too. Teachers guiding children through this part. But also on that note, like, it also made me start thinking, because obviously we're on the conversation of poverty-stricken areas during this pandemic, but also the pandemic has had such an impact on education, children not being able to go to school. And so I would love to put the question out there to anyone who's watching, actually, because it's become a bit of a problem, especially here in Manila with the organizations that I work with. In providing education, not all communities have access to technological resources that they can use Google Classroom and different educational applications. So their education has essentially stopped. So I would love to throw the question to our watchers: what can we do for our kids that don't have the technology to continue their classes? And because it's also important, because, as you know, and I'm sure you're passionate about too, education is one of the greatest equalizers of our society. And to think that there's maybe a whole generation that's going to have a gap.
There is. And I love that you posed this question, and I hope people do answer and give us options, because most people were speaking about homeschooling. And when I saw that, it touched my heart so much, because I thought about where I come from, and I thought about people's lives who never even got an opportunity to go to school. How are they going to homeschool when they themselves don't have that level of education to try and homeschool? So it's those people, you know, that we need to think about and to try and come up with ways in which we can help, because schools are on standstill. You know, people aren't going to school right now because of lockdown. How do we continue to educate these children? That's a very good point. So if you guys have answers for us, you know, let's engage. Let's
start a brainstorming session. I feel like we can communities are kind of left in the dark.
Yeah, and we can use the Universe United hashtag to do that, to come up with the suggestions, you know, send them to our DMs at Miss Universe, and we'll start sharing them with people, start looking at what the good ideas are, and
exactly.
Absolutely, I agree.
And I feel like it's so important for us too to kind of shift into that mindset of like how we can help, because we were chatting earlier this week, and I know that you were the same as me, feeling a little bit restless because we want to do so much, especially with the platforms that we have. I feel like with that comes an even bigger responsibility to really push yourself and be like, what can I do that's more? But also, I would love to empower people who are watching right now that letting your voices be heard is also a very valuable thing at this time, because now more than ever, now that we're isolated and we're mostly disconnected from the outer world in a way, except through social media, I really implore everyone to use social media to express your views, whether it be for leadership, whether it be for your country, whether it be for your social economic situation or what you're going through. I feel like our voices need to be heard, because our leaders should be able to hear that too.
Yeah, I always say awareness is like one of the biggest steps, if not the first step, to social change. The more we use our voices to make awareness in light of situations, the better it is. Because I know in so many countries, my country as well, and I remember I was speaking to Julia as well from Brazil, and she was saying one of the biggest issues is people not really listening to the rules and taking seriously the messages about staying at home and washing your hands. And I think it hasn't really hit some people yet about the importance of this. And so if we can use our platforms, to use our voices to educate and to say, listen, this is serious. We need to do A, B, and C to make sure that we're helping each other out. But like you said, also just human connections, emotions. It doesn't even have to be about constantly speaking about the virus. It can just be about showing people my daily life. You know, what am I doing? For me, I sing. I remember I sent a video out. I posted a video.
You have an amazing voice. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You too, girl. You know you do too. Okay. You know, I was sitting and I felt like I'm feeling so helpless, and music, like I said, it heals me. It makes me feel so much better. And I thought I should just share it with other people, share those messages as well, because it's those little things. you know, that help, that might touch someone in a way that you didn't know might touch them.
Well, definitely.
So it's just about being there, making human connections.
Exactly. It's all about connection, especially at a time like this, and sharing stories, like you said, because it's so easy to start seeing things from a statistical point of view when you see the numbers of the cases and stuff. It doesn't really feel personal until it happens to you or someone you know or someone you care about. And of course, we don't want it to get to that point when we finally sit up and pay attention when it's kind of too late, that we've lost someone or someone's ill because of this. So anyone who's watching, important. Make sure social distancing, whenever you go outside, staying at least a whole 1.5 meters apart. And this is to stop the spread of the cough molecules or anything if there is an affected person in your area. Second, washing your hands, even up to your elbows if you go out and you're buying food, with soap, any soap. Just make sure. Girl, we can nominate songs to sing while washing our hands. Let your inner
let's do it. If we have to write a song about washing hands and staying home, then
you know it's like two happy birthdays.
Right. You said something so important that reminded me of something I was listening to, I think a few weeks ago. You said if something doesn't affect us, we tend to. Rihanna has such a huge problem of turning its eye away when things don't affect us directly or like personally. And she was just saying how that needs to change because we form a part of a whole. And as much as my